Hello, I'm Mathieu from Ludovox, and today I'm going to give you yet another overview of a game. It's called At the Mountains of Madness, or in this French box, Les montagnes hallucinées. So this is a game about Lovecraftian mythos, I guess. So this is a game about the Mountains of Madness. You're going to be an expedition who wants to get to the city on the top of the Mountains of Madness, and you want to get relics there. So it is a cooperative communication game for 3 to 5 players, ages 12 and up, and it plays for around 60 minutes. So in this game, you're going to be this tiny plane, and you're going to be embodied by a character sheet, and then you're going to have cards, which are resources to help you go through the game. And basically, you want to go through the game by collecting these relic cards. You want to get as many of them as you can because they are kind of the victory points of the game. But it's still the Mountains of Madness. You're going to get mad, and getting mad with these cards is going to make you speak differently. I'm going to go over that later. So how do we play the game? So there is going to be a leader, and that leader is going to make a lot of choices, and you can always discuss things and talk a little bit, but not too much. The first thing that the leader does is moving the plane, moving the team as a whole. You move it onto an adjacent tile, and for example here, well, I did flip this one over because I didn't want to flip it, but we have a tile with trials on them. So this tile has 2 trials, trials with crates. I need to gather between 7 and 9 values of crate cards, and the same with tools. I have to match, I have the bracket between 9 and 11. So these values are going to be matched with cards that the players have in hand. So for example, in this case, I could do 11 in yellow. So for example, we could say, okay, let's do this, but we're going to do it on limited time. We have a timer, we can discuss things, and for example, I'm going to say, oh, I'm doing tools, I'm doing yellow by myself, and I'm going to help with red, and that kind of thing can happen. Everyone can play. So the cards are put face down, and this is very important because you are not allowed to check them. If they are there until the end of the trial. Once the players agree to revealing the cards, or that the timer has passed, you reveal the cards and you see if that works or not, and you discard the cards. So basically, if you succeed in at least one trial out of 2 or 3, you get the bonus, which is here, which is nice. You can get new equipment, you can heal yourself because you can get wounded, you can also scout, so many things. If you fail in at least one of the trials, for each failure, you're going to apply a failure. So the failure is decided by the leader, and it can be either to make a player draw a madness card. So if you don't have a madness card, you draw a level 1. If you have a level 1 or 2, you discard your madness card and draw a card from a level higher. That's basically it for that part of the failure. So either you make a player do that, or you roll the malice die, and this is terrible. It can ruin your game by wounding everyone or confusing people. So anyway, you can have a mixture of success and failure if you succeed in one task and not the other, etc. Then you draw back to your hand size, and that's a new turn. But you can also rest and do other stuff. So basically, that's it for the overall game flow. That's what you're going to do every turn. And while it seems so easy to make the things match with the trials, actually, when you have madness cards, it's super difficult, because with the first level madness cards, you're going to take an accent or rhyme when you're talking. But if you're going to have a level 3, you might not be able to use numbers, or you might not be able to say I, and you want to say you instead, and you have to say you instead. So it's really hard communicating when the others think you are speaking of them, when you are speaking of yourself. It's super hard. So that's how the game goes. Once you get there, after several turns, you're quite mad and you want to flee. And to flee, you have to perform 3 new trials, basically 3 new turns. And you want to get there, and at the end, when you manage to flee, if you've not lost yet, because you can lose, you're going to check if you've won. There is only one way of winning. You're going to count the relics that you've collected. These relics, they are the victory points of the game, and for every relic that you have 1 point. But you remove 1 point for every wound card, which is in the discard pile, in the draw pile, and in the hands of the players. So these are basically negative victory points. So that's one way we can win, but that's also one way we can lose, because if we have more wounds, we lose. If we cannot draw wounds anymore because the wound pile is empty, people lose as well. Final way of losing, we have those leadership tokens. So those leadership tokens are very useful because you can use them up to ignore a madness for a round, to flip the hourglass again, to draw more cards, so they are super useful. And if you don't have them anymore, you can remove one from the game entirely to take all of the discarded tokens and put them back here. So it's really interesting to do that, but you can also lose them with the die. And if you lose your last, you're completely out of, basically you're out of spirit, and you just sit there and let things happen. So you lose that way. If you lose your last leadership token, you die. So that's it for the basic run of the game. You're going to see that communication is key, but communication is very much hindered by these madness cards. So bye bye, and see you on Ludovox.